I tell you what, Phil, we're going to be naming a Fame Games Artist of the Year out of our independent artist competition.
Yeah.
And we want to have a big concert in Marbella for the final competition. And we would love to have Roxy Music come and be the big highlight band for that. So we'll have to contact you for that.
Oh, contact us. Absolutely.
I mean, because for independent musicians, you guys are our superheroes, you know?
You have my email address now.
Absolutely.
Just, send us a mail with anything like that.
Are you coming anywhere close to Marbella?
I don't know yet. Not on this year, no, because we're finishing on Saturday.
Well, I do know Paul has known John the longest in the last few years. They were partners. And I do know that Paul mentioned that John always spoke of you very, very, very fondly.
Yes. No, he's a very, very nice person, and we're really sad to die.
As a matter of fact, Phil, out of all the people that he mentioned on a regular basis, he actually had an extremely soft spot for you. He was very proud to know you.
Oh, well, that's very sweet.
Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry for you, and please pass those messages on to the rest of the boys that you'll be seeing.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming on Fame Games, Phil. It's been an absolute honor to meet you. Unfortunate circumstances.
Yeah.
Of course, but I hope we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely. No, we'll do.
Thank you, Phil.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I have often told you stories about the way
We're going to have our first song beginning with the album that, unfortunately, we didn't know was actually going to be John's last. You see, although John was in his 70s, he absolutely refused to retire and was like, we often say, a teenager trapped inside an older man's body. His will to keep on working has always been fortunate for Mere Music International. He was our big JC as a founder of Mere Music, and when we visited him last Saturday, the day before he died, we sealed the deal for the Nothing But Trouble album and printed the publishing agreements between ourselves, his company Seabreeze, and Watanabe Publishing in Japan. For me, it was the happiest day of my life, and I gave John the biggest and tightest hug I had ever given him. The song you're about to hear is from that album and was John's favorite. Perhaps because it fused classical new age sounds with pop, who knows? Regardless, the irony is that this song, called Nikki's Theme, is specifically about having someone you love die and then meeting them in a dream. That was Nikki's theme off the upcoming Nothing But Trouble album, thanks largely because of the man we're paying tribute to today. That was especially for you, John. This is the first in a two-part tribute to John Coletta, one of the managers behind the supergroup Deep Purple. And for this week's Indie Insider Information, the theme, Who Do We Think We Are?, was chosen because quite often we define ourselves by the people we know and people we hang with. And as mentioned earlier, it also just so happens to be one of Deep Purple's album titles, for which John helped design the cover with Tony Edwards. It was after that album that Deep Purple was recognized as the biggest selling band in the world by Billboard magazine. And so it goes. It wasn't until John died that we realized ourselves how important he was to our identity. We took for granted how safe he made us feel and comforted in the music business, because whenever we were stumped with a music business problem, we called John and he'd meet us right away. He could sort it out in 5 minutes. So we're going to take it over to Paul, who knew John the longest and who was his partner from 1996 to 2001 and remained good friends up until the day he passed away. Paul Paul, how did you meet John?
I was working with another record company at the time, and the guy who ran that record company, he would invite all kinds of very famous people all the time. And one of those people was John, and I was playing him some of the music I was working on at the time, and he was like really complimentary, and then he went. And then I never saw him again. And he kind of promised, oh yeah, he'd come back the next week, and he didn't come back. And after a while, I was really getting tired of working with that company I was with, so I quit. And I keep remembering, that I really, really wanted to run into John, mainly because I was a diehard fan of Deep Purple. Ever since, Deep Purple came out, it was like the band for me. And I remember saying once, I was still, I think, a teenager, or maybe in my early 20s.
So like Jake and Lexi's age?
Well, no, I was older than that. But yeah, I remember saying to my guys from my band, I said, you know what? Because I was already pretty savvy in those days. I knew what it's all about. It's not just about your talent. It's also about your management. I said, if we had a manager like Deep Purple, right, we'd go out and kick some butt.
And here, lo and behold,
that was years, 20 odd years before I met John. And then when I met him, I thought, this is like a dream come true, because this is the guy I literally wanted to meet. Normally people want to meet all the big idols and stars. I wanted to meet the manager of the band.
Why the manager? I mean, did he have a reputation?
No, I didn't even know who the manager was. But I was informed well enough about the business already by then to know that the success in this business is not so much dependent on how great you are, because you of course have to be great. You have to be wonderful. But it's really about how you manage, because you can manage somebody's career into hell, or you can manage them into becoming something great. And you see plenty of examples, of sometimes rather mediocre people out there who maybe just have great management. And it's not every day that you get a combination of both, where you have wonderful, great music, and innovative as Deep Purple were, and very successful. And then I remember I was walking around Marbella, and really, actually, John was on my mind a lot in those days. And one day I was just pulling over for a coffee, because, as you know, I like my coffee.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
And I saw this little bar. I mean, out of in the middle of nowhere, but I didn't know that John lived in that area. And something made me pull over and say, I'm going to have me coffee there.
So it was fated.
It was fated, and I walk in, there's John sitting with his ex-wife then.